how many classes do I need to take to show academic competency, right? Academic capability. And the answer is as many as you can do. The OldPreMeds Podcast, session number 275. Welcome to the OldPreMeds Podcast. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray, your host here every week, where I get to take your questions directly from the non-traditional pre-med discussion over at premedforums.com and answer them here on the podcast. Before we jump into our question today, I want to talk about MCAT registration in the MCAT Minute, brought to you by Blueprint MCAT. Right now, it's the middle of May. Registration is open for July, August, and September. If you need to take your MCAT anytime right now, you need to go register. And right now is an interesting time because as we're recording this, and this is kind of time-sensitive information, so if you're listening to this in the future, ignore me. Hopefully post-pandemic life is great. But the CDC just announced new guidelines, new guidance for vaccinated people. And so we don't know yet what Pearson is going to do, the testing center, what they're going to do. Are they going to have vaccinated testing times and unvaccinated testing times so that you can test without a mask and there's no kind of limits in social distancing in the rooms? We're not sure what's going to happen yet with that. So don't try to play that game and wait and see what Pearson does. Go and schedule the test as soon as you need to, as soon as you know you're ready to take it. If you're looking for some help with your MCAT, go to blueprintmcat.com, sign up for a free account where you get access to their amazing study planner tool, Full Length 1. They have 10 full lengths. You get Full Length 1 as well as a half-length diagnostic. Go check them out, blueprintmcat.com. So our question today revolves around post-bac work and the course load required for that post-bac work for a non-traditional student who has work and family and other things going on. Our student says, hey everyone, after being in the workforce for 9 years post-undergraduate, graduated in 2012, I've decided to look into becoming a doctor. I've listened to tons of Dr. Gray's podcasts and realized that shadowing and clinical experience are imperative to making the decision. I've also realized that at some point I will have to complete a post-bac in order to bring up my cumulative GPA and prepare for the MCAT. Because of time constraints of a full-time job and family, I am leaning towards a do-it-yourself post-bac. The purpose of the post-bac is to prove academic competency, which means getting as close to a 4.0 as possible. Somebody's been listening to me. That's amazing. That's a side tangent. But I know that I cannot manage a full course load, 4 to 5 classes per semester. Is there a cutoff in terms of classes per semester that would be counterproductive to demonstrating competency? I know I need to take more than 1 class a semester, but if I only took 2 or maybe 3 classes per semester, would that still show competency when balanced with everything else? Work, shadowing, clinical experience, family, etc. Any opinions and suggestions are welcome. So, great question. And this is such a dilemma for lots of non-traditional students. Students who are coming from another career, students who have a family, who need to go back and do a post-bac for whatever reason, whether they didn't take sciences to begin with, or they need to go and improve their academic record, right? An academic enhancing program, a do-it-yourself program, or a formal program. And so at the end of the day, the question is, what will it take to show that you are academically capable of doing well in medical school? And I agree, 1 class per semester probably isn't going to do it. Now, medical schools can see everything that you do. That's what your activity list is there for as well. Your activity list isn't just for, these are the medical things that I've done. The activity list is to show what you've been spending your time with. Now, obviously, having a family doesn't go in your activity list. So that's kind of a separate thing that is going to take time that probably won't show up on your application in a lot of areas. Now, it may potentially show up in a personal statement if there's something with your family that led you to want to be a physician, or maybe you have some activities around being part of the PTA or whatever that looks like that shows, hey, this person has a family. But your work And all of the other extracurriculars that you're doing are going to be in your application. Now, the question is, what's the difference between a traditional student who's going to school full-time, working part-time, doing all the extracurriculars as well? How is that different than a non-traditional student who's working full-time, getting extracurricular activities, studying for the MCAT, and then also taking classes part-time? It's hard to quantify or qualify which one is harder, which one is more difficult. Obviously, having a family and being out in the workforce where potentially the roof over your head and food on the table is contingent on having that job, and there's the stress of that job, and especially a job in a non-traditional setting years out of medical school versus a job that you'll have while you're in undergrad, the level of stress potentially is a lot different. Your level of responsibility is potentially a lot different. But to the heart of this question is, how many classes do I need to take to show academic competency, right? Academic capability. And the answer is as many as you can do. Now, that answer is going to be different for every student who's on this non-traditional journey. If you feel like you can only take one class a semester to start out, and then you increase to 2 or 3, do that. I would rather you start than to wait for this perfect opportunity to say, okay, now I can take 3 classes. Okay, now I can take 2 classes. Because what inevitably happens is life gets in the way. And the one semester you thought you were going to start your post-bac work and take those 3 classes, your cat dies, your dog dies, your grandma dies, your grandpa dies. Something happens in your life that throws you for a loop, and then you start to doubt whether you can truly take those classes. And then you go, well, you know what? I've already taken some time off to get to this point. I delayed starting that semester with these 3 classes because that was the perfect time. And so what's one more semester? And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation where it's 3 years later and you still haven't taken any classes. So I would prefer you start with as much as you can do right now, with the idea that if you're starting with something like 1 class a semester, you know in the back of your head that that is not okay in the big picture. So start with 1, get that working, get your schedule down. How long does it take you to travel to campus? How long does it take you to study? How long does it do X, Y, or Z? Get your kids accustomed to, hey, mommy is studying, daddy is studying. I know this is something new. I usually, when I come home from work, I'm here and I'm part of the family and I'm paying attention to everyone. But mommy's back in school now and I need to study. Or that's not a part of your life and you put your kids to bed and then you study. Find those habits, find those routines, especially when you have a lot of stuff going on in your life. And start. Again, don't try to line everything up to be perfect and then start. Just start and start with 1 and go from there and build and build and build. And hopefully by the end, you're able to take 3 classes a semester, maybe even 4 classes a semester because the schedule works, because your study habits work, because your family's prepared, your significant other, your spouse, your partner, whoever it is supporting you and understands what they need to do to support you. Just start. Yes, you got it, right? You know that 1 class a semester is not good enough. The question is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 4? Does it have to be 5? There's no easy answer to that because every student comes with a different level of ability to take classes. When you're a non-traditional student, you have much more on your plate, and admissions committees can see that. They understand that your level of activities in terms of clinical experience and volunteering and shadowing and all that stuff is likely going to be less than your traditional counterparts. And that's okay. Stop trying to compare yourself to everyone else and just do what you can do with the situation that you are in. Hopefully that was helpful. If you have a question you want answered here on the Old Premeds Podcast, go to premedforums.com, click on the non-traditional pre-med discussion, and ask your question there. Don't forget to go check out Blueprint MCAT at blueprintmcat.com. Sign up for a free account where you get access to one half-length diagnostic, one full-length practice MCAT exam, as well as a bunch of other goodies, including some flashcards coming soon. I won't tell you what those are yet, though. It's a super, super secret that we will find out more information any day now. So go check out blueprintmcat.com today. Have a great week. We'll see you next time here on the Old Premeds Podcast.